Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have Something Went Wrong with My Baby. So, the story, Something Went Wrong with My Baby, was suggested to us by its creator, Cainmak. After we did one of their other stories, they emailed us and appreciated our discussion and critique of their story, which was very nerve-wracking.
What was the previous one? Do you remember?
A game of tag.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they did a game of tag, and they liked how we they really liked Mikey's theory about her being a ghost. So that was really cool, and they appreciated that we'd critiqued the story and suggested two other stories that they had. So we're gonna give it the same standard of discussion and critique that we give all of our stories. And for anybody who's interested, you can check this one out. Something Went Wrong with My Baby at creepypasta.wiki. So, but I will jump into the rundown now. So a mother has her child and everything's great until it isn't. The baby, despite having no physical abnormalities, displays very strange and later horrifying behavior, such as attempting to kill itself in the crib. The baby is hospitalized and restrained, and no one seems able to properly diagnose the issue, except for one Dr. Bachicha. She suggests that this is a case of reincarnation gone wrong, whereas the soul and consciousness from a previous life recycles to a new body, forgetting its previous memories in the process. Andy, the baby, it seems, hasn't, and so it's suggested that they are an older person's mind trapped in an infant's body and just can't cope with that. This theory is later proven, as the baby's first words to its mother are, "Make it stop." And that's where the story ends, on that zinger of dread. That's
the shortest rundown ever.
Well, it was a pretty short story.
I guess.
That's the rundown. On to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions at this point.
It's just someone's favorite segment.
Yes, I'm sure it's someone's. We're still waiting on that email. You, we know who you are.
No, we don't.
Shut up.
We just know that there's one out there.
We're also assuming, and you know what that means.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to that. This special little snowflake of a segment. So I'm going to start with this one here. I called the doctor, who assured me it wasn't anything dire, and we can wait till morning to take Andy for a checkup. So I feel like it should be, and we could wait till morning.
Yeah, I guess because it's past tense.
Yeah. The next one here. Ray and I spend an hour in the waiting room, still shocked and with ringing in our ears. This one, I think it should be Ray and I spent an hour in the waiting room, because past tense, present tense. A lot of my stuff seems like it's going to be some past tense, present tense stuff.
Be tense issues.
Yeah. Next one here. We were left with a prescription for a throat soother and sent home. And that, I think that has to be sent home, not send home.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one, it didn't end with pounding, though. Andy could charge at everyone who took him in their arms. He would slam, hit, and kick with all the strength an infant possessed, only to startle people and make them let go of him. So, based on the surrounding descriptors, I don't think it should be could charge. I don't think that's the correct terminology you want. I think it perhaps would be like, it wouldn't end with a pounding, though. Andy would attack would attack everyone who took him in his arms, or like Andy would lash out at everyone who took him in their arms.
I mean, he has an adult mind, so he could be in his mind being like, I don't want you to pick me up. This is assault. Like, he's pointing and shit as this is happening. It's like, objection.
Oh, okay. So you mean like not so much the physical charge, but like charge as in like, I'm gonna sue you.
Yeah, exactly.
I do not consent. I do not consent.
Meanwhile,
That's-
just be like, Google.
no, just like yeah, just screaming. Yeah, I could go with that.
It's probably not that though. So yeah.
Yeah, I think probably would lash out would probably be the best one because
Or he would come at anyone who picked him up with full force.
pulls off his belt, starts whipping it down. It's like, come at me, bruh. Come at me.
Belt.
It's from a TV show that a buddy of mine
I was gonna
told
say.
me. It's like it became like a running gag whenever we talked about like somebody like defying somebody else. It just like pull out the belt, like whip it around. It's like, come at me, bro. Come at me.
In this situation, it would be the diaper, probably.
Yeah. A diaper full of poop.
Yeah. I got fresh duty in this diaper. Come at me, bro.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. So then my next one here, I spend almost every hour in Andy's hospital. I think you want, I spent almost every hour in Andy's room.
Mhm.
And my last one, all those smartasses think they know everything while my baby was suffering. Think you want all those smartasses thinking they knew everything while my baby was suffering. Just again with the past tense, present tense issue.
Yeah.
Which
This was written like a journal.
Yeah.
And present tense would make sense.
One of the other things actually that Cainmak did say in the email was that English is not their first language, so they do actually appreciate. It seems like they appreciated some of the grammar inquisitions a little bit.
Oh, I'm surprised because there's people I'm sure that English is their first language and they write much worse than this.
Like even with that, like it was very like again like my grammar inquisitions isn't that big, and it's just really just past tense, present tense issues, which is a common issue. So
it's stuff that everyone runs into. Like if you
Yeah.
and me were writing stuff, we would also be running into this too because you think that way because you're thinking in the moment.
exactly. So yeah, no, like despite that obstacle, like good job.
Mhm.
But let's move on to Mikey's grammar inquisitions.
All right. Well, you got the ones that I had.
Just kicking dust up with your foot. It's like, God damn it.
But as per usual, I have an it story with a front end and a front butt sprinkled in.
Ooh.
So an it story with some seasoning of a conjunction junction.
Mhm.
Sure, why not?
And now, an it story with Mikey, the E stands for evil, with some light seasoning of a conjunction junction. Take it away.
It probably sounds cheesy, but I believed my baby was the most beautiful baby in the world, and a healthy one at that. But time went on, and the fact that a few-day-old infant hadn't yet shed a single tear started to thaw my enthusiasm. It was a scream I have never heard before. It didn't seem to belong to a baby. It was one loud wail on a single inhale that would rip a grown man's throat. It seemed like he wanted to say something. It started one morning when I was talking to Ray. It didn't end with pounding, though. It was Dr. Neha Bachicha who came up with a solution. Finn.
Also,
There wasn't too much out of context there, honestly.
yeah, no, it was pretty accurate.
It's just the pounding part that was out of context.
Like that might as well have been my rundown a little bit.
A little bit.
Also, I'm sorry, like I just caught like a moment of like silliness when you did like when you brought up the cry that she had never heard, like it was like not human or something like that. I just thought of like the baby just like screaming a goat scream. I don't know if you guys have ever heard a goat scream, but it's kind of like creepy and hilarious at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sorry. Sorry to ruin the creepiness in your story there, Cainmak, but no, that's all I can hear, the baby screaming.
Mhm. I mean, it would be a terrifying sound to come out of a baby.
It would. Yeah.
So that's fine.
And that's all your grammar acquisitions there, Mikey?
Yep.
All right. Gamer.
And for
your
those
highlight.
not in the know,
Oh yeah.
the whole point of the it story and conjunction junction and such that Mikey does is to highlight sentences that begin with conjunctions and weird words that they shouldn't really begin with. Or like it's a
Mhm.
cheap way to do a sentence instead of writing it out quote unquote proper, I guess.
Yeah, like the using its and or buts and ands are technically like, yeah, you need to they need to be like you need to kind of work around those, because if you use, especially if you use them a lot, which a lot of creepypastas have a habit of doing,
Yeah.
they need to be
Mhm.
corrected, or
Mhm.
they should be corrected.
Unless that's the way that the character talks.
Yeah, which again, a lot of people do talk like
Yeah.
that. So
Mhm.
it's why it's a problem when you're writing.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to think about because like if I'm just writing down events of something that happened to me today, I wouldn't necessarily care about how perfect my grammar is because I'm just getting the information out, especially if
No,
I'm spooked.
yeah, not in the moment anyway, but I mean, like one, like at the end. But yeah, like it's the difference between like telling getting a transcript of an account from someone, so everything's dialogue and it feels real and such because of that, and writing a story, like a pro, but like that should have like some bouts of editing and stuff to it, like refining a story and refining an account into a story.
I see it this way: if a story's written down as a character writing the story down, then
It should be
like
a pro,
no,
like a
it doesn't have to be like perfect. If it's a narrator telling the story, then in that case it is a full story and it should have like proper grammar everywhere.
yeah, like if the narrator is supposed to be like an omniscient like narrator,
Yes.
like not a character in the story, like if they're talking. Yeah, I get you.
Because
Yeah.
like with this story, for example, the narrator is the mother.
Yeah.
So the mother will be speaking a certain way and formulating sentences certain ways. So it's half dialogue-y in a way when you think
Yeah,
about it.
it's immersion-y.
Yeah, yeah.
It may not be well, it may not be how like writing should be, but it is how someone would write or talk or jot down.
Yeah.
And we're really diving deep into that hole of it's the way the narrator blanks.
Yeah, yeah. In this context, it's fine, but in other contexts, it's not.
It's fine. It's fine.
This is fine.
Uh,
But yeah.
yeah. No, that's yeah. It's good to like every so often elaborate why we do the conjunction junctions.
Hmm.
So, gamer, little segue to you. Your grammar in yellow.
Yes. First sentence. No, I'm not going to be going sentence by sentence. Don't worry.
I my heart skipped a minute.
How is this possible? No.
I'm feeling heart palpitations. Oh god.
But no, right from the get go. So, I've been a new mother for a few months now. Period. As you can imagine, comma. It was an amazing experience for me. Semicolon. Holding my baby boy for the first time in a hospital bed felt unreal. So, personally, at least the way I would write this, whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. I would both combine and separate these sentences. I would combine it at the as you can imagine to well, I'll just read it.
Yeah, go for it.
I have been a new mother for a few months now, comma, and as you can imagine, comma, it was an amazing experience for me. Period. Then instead of a semicolon, go like you use that period there for holding my baby boy for the first time in the hospital. That felt unreal.
Yeah, that actually seems that seems like an appropriate suggestion, like a decent suggestion for like making it read better, or
Yeah.
making it see like making it it's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, the use of the semicolon is proper
Mhm.
because it's directly related to what was said before. But I personally don't like semicolons, but that's just me.
There's a lot of the English language you don't like.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yet it's our
languages to know if other languages are perfect and ours is just terrible
well,
or something.
I will say this. English is probably one of the hardest languages to learn.
Yeah,
And there's a reason for that.
yeah. Buffalo, 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 buffalo. For example.
Wait, I only know 2 versions of buffalo. What are the other ones?
I don't know, but I know that that's a full sentence.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh God.
Because like buffalo, as in the noun, there's a verb for buffalo. It's like it's weird.
There's a place for buffalo.
Yeah, yeah, like buffalo from buffalo, buffaloing buffalo, buffling,
Yeah,
buffling, buffalo.
okay.
You know.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 4 one is basically Buffalo from Buffalo bullying buffaloes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So
All
bad.
right. Yep.
If you just type in buffalo a few times and do a Google search on Wikipedia, it comes up with one that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buffaloes. Oh wait, no, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buffaloes in a row is a grammatically correct sentence in American English.
Uh,
Yeah, worst. Anyways, moving on.
yep.
It probably sounds cheesy, but I believe my baby boy was the most beautiful baby in the world. Period, and a healthy one at that. Period. So this is to bring up the front and on that. There's a couple ways you can combine it. One to kind of keep the same flow is just to comma it out. So it probably sounds cheesy, comma, but I believe my baby boy was the most beautiful baby in the world, comma, and a healthy one at that. Period. Like
Yeah.
it's starting to get a little long as one sentence, but it's still doable.
It's not. Yeah. It's not like two. It's not two run on. It's not like several lines.
Yeah. And the other way you could do it, although it does change the way that the flow of the sentence goes, it probably sounds cheesy, comma, but I believe my baby boy was the most beautiful and healthy baby in the world.
Yeah.
Which makes it smaller, but again,
Although that does
it's the way
also
the
change.
character talks.
That does also change the context of the sentence a little bit because it's like because in the original version it's like I know it sounds cheesy but my baby was the like most beautiful in the world kind of thing and healthy to boot. So by saying like the most beautiful and healthy baby in the world, like that's going a little too far of extravagant or extravagant of elaborating on your child like being the best in the world.
Well, hence why the very start of it is it probably sounds cheesy, but I believe this.
That's fair, yeah.
But yeah, I do get what you're saying though. It does slightly change the context of it.
Yeah, I would probably go with the comma and a healthy one
Mhm.
at that. Yeah.
Yep. Then my last one. If suddenly you were trapped in a baby's body, comma, Mrs. Wayne, comma, what would you do? Then she goes, then my voice shook. I remember screams, blah, 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 blah. And then it jumps to the next line saying, when Andy was 5 months old, I hunched above his crib. So this whole part, there's no words that are wrong. It was a slight confusion for a minute. 'Cause I
Okay.
thought he was going into a flashback because she went, and then it immediately after that says, I remembered the screams, the suicide attempts, blah, 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 blah. And then it says when Andy was 5 months old. So
Yeah,
I
'cause-
was
yeah, it's
assuming at
skipped.
this point that he was
Yeah.
like 6 months old or something, and she was remembering a month back. But this is actually a jump ahead.
Yeah.
I had to read a little bit into it to even see that.
Should that is it in the same paragraph?
No, it's the next one down.
Okay, so I get what you're saying, but like how would you do you have an idea of how to fix that? Like how to make it a little bit more clear? Because I got it. I personally got that like that it was jumping jumping ahead because it's like basically like in a movie it would be fading to black, and then we'd and the show like time had passed. But like, yeah, how would you fix that in for the story, like for the written piece?
That's my point. There's no fade to black.
Yeah.
It's just she doesn't know what to say, and then she's remembering stuff in the past, and then it goes on saying when he was 5 months old, this happened. So
Yeah.
to me, it seemed like it was in the past. But yeah, one way that you could correct it is just put in a line right before the 5 months thing. After the talk with the doctor, comma, I couldn't stop thinking about what if. Period. When Andy was 5 months old, blah 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 blah. So like just something to say that they're not. I was thinking that she was still sitting there talking to the doctor, thinking about
Yeah.
this.
And you reading it, I could understand why you'd think that. Like,
Yeah.
like I didn't get that the first time, but like re-listening to you read it, like I can see where you're coming from that. So
It's like I read the next couple of paragraphs. I'm like, wait, is this forward or backwards? And I skipped ahead. I'm like, no, the doctor's not talking anymore. I guess this is forwards.
Yeah.
Because like she never actually answers the doctor. I think the whole thing is that conversation doesn't end; it just stops.
Yeah. Again, like it's trying to do an effect that's in a different medium in another medium, and it sometimes doesn't work as well as you thought it would when you write it down.
Like it could be simply changed to instead of saying when Andy was 5 months old, go like a month after the visit with the doctor. I hunched above Andy's crib, blah 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 blah. Just something to hammer home the fact. No, time is moving forward, not backward.
Yeah.
And that's it for my grammar-related discrepancies.
All right. Then I guess on to actual thoughts. So I got a lot of stuff to say about this, like the core premise of the story, and it will be illustrated through the quotes in my comments on them. So this aloofness applied to everything he did. He barely ate, slept less than any average baby, and when approached, would only stare at the observer without losing eye contact. He had astounding blue eyes and a lot of wrinkles around them. And because of that, he had a constant perplexed look on his face, like he couldn't understand what was happening to him. So right here, I don't know why, but like as I read that sentence for the first time, I called it there that this is an older person in an infant's body.
Me too.
Like, it's just such a common trope when you're dealing with babies acting strange or oddly intelligent. Like it like I've read media, there's been RPG scenarios, like horror scenarios that do this. There's like horror movies and horror stories that do this kind of thing. It's just such a common trope. And that said, honestly, this story did creep me out with the concept as it added on more stuff to it, like added more weight to the explanation of like why an older person is in this baby and why this baby is acting so badly or acting so like suicidal and creeped out and stuff like that. Especially with the conversation later with Dr. Bhattacharya, which is Dr. Bhattacharya's voice was calm and soothing, like a warm bath after a long day. She seemed confident in what she was saying. The moment they enter a new body, the memories of their previous life start to disappear. They start anew. That is why none of us remember our infant years. Then the child grows old and dies, and their soul finds another body to inhabit. The sheer amount of memories stored in one soul would be too much for one living human to comprehend. And like that right there, even with the comforting tone the doctor is using, that actually just helps to like contrast what is about to come in the explanation and like with the dread of the story, as being anything but soothing.
I do like that explanation though.
Yeah, and the idea
totally
around and the idea around like reincarnation is just suddenly cast in a sinister light when it goes bad. Case in point, like this is like the last part of the story, like this last quote here. Ma, yes? I don't know why, but I whispered. Andy's only good eye glimmered with hope. I leant even more over the crib, gripping my hands on the bars. Ma, it top. Make it stop? I asked. What I can only describe as a dreamlike state where everything irrational seems normal. Andy nodded his head in agreement. Fuck. Like that's my reaction right after I read this part of the story. I was like, reincarnation's all well and good until it goes horribly wrong and you're rolling sanity checks as you're trapped within your newly born body.
Yeah.
Like being like the way it's described in the story, like the way it's kind of like elaborated on in the story, both kind of directly and like indirectly. It's like being in sensory deprivation in your head or disassociating from your own body. Everything is hard to do and articulate. You have a mouth, but you can only scream unintelligibly. It's straight up body horror. And again, like it's a common thing used with like in horror that involves like a baby acting more intelligent than it should, or more like it's more aware and such, like having like, oh, it's actually like an adult trapped in the human body, and like that it leans up, but it like leans on that with like a lot of the stuff here. Like this ending and the description presented by Dr. Bhattacharya actually makes that concept of like reincarnation horrifying on also a cosmic level as well. Like the human consciousness loses their mind or mentally spiraling out of control because they can't grasp more than one lifetime of memories and thought processes. Like it's just like it's either like physically impossible for our brains to do it, or like it's just the weight of more than one like lifetime of memories would like cripple a person's mind. So it's super creepy, and I like how it's presented here, despite the common use of such a narrative trope. Yeah, I really enjoyed how like it's both a body horror and also a little bit of a cosmic horror because of like the idea of losing yourself in memories that you unfortunately remember, like you can't unsee it or you can't unremember like the weight of of another person's memories that is
Mm.
technically you, but it's not because you're starting fresh again, but you're stuck with those memories. It's like a computer's hard drive that like is they're trying to cram in more memory into the hard drive even though it's filled up.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like the the descriptor that the doctor gives about like reincarnation when it goes wrong was like really good for me for the horror in the story, or like kind of a high concept horror angle to
Mm.
it. Yeah, that's really my actual thought about the story. I really wanted to just kind of get across that like I enjoyed the like even though it's kind of a very well used trope of for baby horror, um it goes further than that, and like in elaborating like what's happening to the child. So
Yeah, in this case, I really like how well it's explained as what's going on. In
yeah,
some stories, it's like you want to know as little as possible to get creeped. But
yeah,
in this, the less you know, the less it makes sense, you know?
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
kind of
and
more creepy the more it's explained.
yeah, because they go into it like there's nothing wrong with this child physically. Like he's a perfectly healthy, normal child. The only problem is something's wrong with his psyche, and then that's when you realize, oh shit, it's because it's the psyche of an adult male, or of a maybe not even a male person, just like an adult human being, trapped in their new body, but they didn't get their body, they didn't get their mind cleansed
Mhm.
between vessels. So now they've got this like extra weight on them. Like that's enough to drive anyone insane.
A little
And
bit.
the fact that they elaborate on that, like I love how the elaboration, like elaborating on the horror, makes it more horrifying because we
That's
said,
what I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the horror of truth.
Yeah.
Which is again a cosmic concept. Like when you know the truth, you get more and more creeped out or unnerved because it's a truth that you can't unlearn or can't understand again, or
Mhm.
not that you can't understand, but you can't like grasping it is the problem, is the vector. So yeah, I guess onto Mikey's thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
How are you gonna make this silly, man?
I mean, I already did it with the baby trying to take people to court.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, let's see here. So, my first actual thought, there's a paragraph that starts with when Andy was about 2 weeks old, he started to become more erratic. And in this paragraph, it says, I tried the Heimlich maneuver on him, but
Oh no.
unsurprisingly, it only intensified Andy's agitation. To
Yep.
which my response was, he's only 2 weeks old. You don't do the Heimlich maneuver on a 2-week-old.
Yeah, there are things you can do to like basically there are like not saying mini Heimlich maneuvers sounds really stupid, but like there are like ways of like doing a similar process of the Heimlich maneuver to a small child or a small infant.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Probably
like
what they're alluding to.
which yeah, like
Pick
that's
it up in a bear hug. You're like,
yeah, just squish. Yeah, no, it's probably more like they're like pressing down on like or like either like patting the child's back or like maybe even like pressing on like the child with like a few fingers to try and help
Mhm.
it with that. But
Yeah.
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 But yeah,
Well,
like the use of the Heimlich maneuver, like it's used as like it does have kind of a like oh no like kind of tone to it when it's brought up because of the more widely used description for it.
the adult version of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. So with that, I updated the title of the story to "Something Went Wrong with My Baby, comma He Did."
Uh huh.
Wow.
If you
That's
stop the story there, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But and as I was reading it, that's why I thought of that then. So obviously, it doesn't make much sense if you read the whole thing.
Hmm.
Anyway, that's my first actual thought.
Didn't disappoint.
Um, my next one is definitely critically silly.
Oh,
I'm
good.
just putting that out there. So, Andy kept wriggling like a chained down lion trying to escape. Well, the lion's made out of down, so he's not going to try to escape.
What?
Well, down is a type of material.
Yeah.
So if you take it as Andy kept bringing like a chained down lion trying to escape.
I just
Okay. I mean, I hate the English language too. I get it.
literalisms. They're a thing.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird. I think the downed part might I feel like the downed part could probably have been removed, and it would have made a little bit more sense as an allegory, like a chained
He might be
lion.
chained to a wall for all we know.
Yeah.
Like chained from the ceiling. Like who knows what's going on?
Yeah. Oh, so you think they should keep it down to like chain down?
Yeah, because he's like flat on his back.
Yeah.
Chained down in place. It's correct, but it's critically silly if you look at it with a critically silly eye.
In the strange deluded mind of a demon.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. My next actual thought is that I also sort of liked how it went the reincarnation route. And I was half thinking reincarnation before the doctor brought it up. So I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
But then for me, it all came together when the baby started speaking, because that's when I personally associated with him being the reincarnation of a ram.
You'll have to elaborate.
Okay, a ram, as I'm sure you know, is a bighorn sheep that
Or
had,
truck.
yeah.
That's
But
it.
I'm going the sheep route.
Okay, fine.
Actually, you could go with the goat too, with the screaming.
Well, that's where this came in, because he's been every time Andy was able to move, he tried banging his head on every hard surface he could, which to me, thinking of a rams
Yeah.
bash into things with their head.
Mhm.
And then when the baby starts speaking, I heard sheep speak. So it's meh, meh, meh.
Okay.
Yep.
And then to explain the ending, it was either sort of a sneeze or a hiccup. So it was a meh it type thing.
Oh, so like the ma it top was like ma, and then like hiccups.
Yeah.
To get the it top, and then the mother's just kind of like there's a word for it where you like you hear something, you're able to like hear something that's not actually there, but you like
Mhm.
you familiarize like a word to a sound that doesn't make any other sense. But yeah, and that's when she's guessing, and then for some reason Andy decided to just nod to that.
Yes.
You might need to explain the nodding, if nothing else.
Well, it
Oh, it could be like him like hiccuping inside, so he's just like his head's going back and forth.
Yeah.
I this is reminding me of a it's a story / game like campaign scenario somebody wrote. I can't remember the person who did it, but like it was an idea they had for a zombie apocalypse thing where the zombies were rising up and eating people, right? Because like zombies do. But then it was later that the characters discover that the zombies are actually the spirits of animals trapped in people's bodies. So you had like the zombie. The reason why they're hunting down people is because they're all predators and stuff like that. So this is like basically reincarnate. What happens when reincarnation goes wrong? In that an animal soul spirit is reincarnated into a human child.
Oh, okay. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it does have like an interesting, because like especially when that kid gets older, that's gonna be really fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that was my last actual thought.
That's oddly passable.
Yeah, it's not it's critically it's silly, but it could also be, it has like if we continue the story past his childhood, that could end up getting really creepy really quickly too, because like the kid is not a human spirit inside of their body, it is an animal spirit. So like does the child continue being like acting like feral almost, like in that like they don't, or do they start learning human dialect and stuff, and we find out that it's actually like some kind of animal spirit, and then that opens up the whole window to like weird shit.
A little bit.
Like, yeah, like that could be even further, because like if it's a goat or like a ram or a spirit trapped in the human body, it's gonna have some words to say about humans eating them, and like the forced domestication of its species, maybe. Like it could go like vegan horror real fast.
Well, but
Like, and this
he
is
grows up all the way. He's like protesting animal abuse. He's like, as a ram myself, even though he's just a human.
Well,
But
that's
he
the other thing.
actually
Like,
is a spirit of a ram.
that's the other thing. Does he like maybe he'd start like developing like animalistic features as well? Like it could go into like, you could take this really weird fiction kind of ways. Like, and like you could still
Like
try.
horns and hooves.
Yeah, I mean not. I'm thinking like maybe the eyes start like changing to like those of a goat.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe horns and hooves. Like maybe this is how we get satyrs. Is when like
Yeah.
the soul of an animal gets trapped in a human's body. Oh, that could be like, again, it could open up the doorway to like a series of stories involving animal spirited humans. Like humans that have been, or animals that have been reincarnated into humans rather than vice versa. Because you always hear like humans, or you always hear in stories and legends and stuff of like humans getting reincarnated into animals.
Yeah. Everything's
like I think
fine.
that's part of the I think that's part of the karmic wheel. But I'm not an expert on reincarnation in other theologies, so please don't quote me on that. But yeah, like we always hear about the other side, the other end. Like it'd be interesting to have the other way. So yeah, like this could, and you can go like you can find a horror angle for that, for a creepy story, or it could just be like a really weird story, like weird fiction stuff. So. Yeah, damn. Like Gamer said, it's like it's a silly, but it's also passable as like for like a spooky kind of angle for this story. So, damn you. As
like
always.
if there's a sequel where it was elaborated that it was an actual animal spirit, I would I'd believe it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah.
The next story just has to be called Andy.
Mm. Oh,
no. The next story will be something went wrong with Andy.
Yeah. Actually, although I feel like the story
more went wrong with Andy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going with he's no longer a baby at that point. So
yeah, that's true. But yeah, wow, that was very interesting tangent we went on.
A little bit.
Thank you, Mikey.
You're welcome.
Is that all you got for your actual thoughts?
Yes.
Gamer, good luck.
I'm just gonna pass. Can I just pass?
Nope. No passing.
If I don't really have much actual notey wise, because honestly, like I basically just wrote down like early on, like okay, I'm calling it here that it's an adult trapped in the baby's body, and then the quote where it's like, "Do you believe in reincarnation?" I'm like, okay, yeah, I was right. Damn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could just chime in on final thoughts. Honestly,
okay.
I can't think of anything specific to bring up prior to that.
Yeah, I mean, you did kind of come in on the the reincarnation bit, like from on my section. So
I do chime in a lot.
Yeah,
I'm just they're quiet. So
all right. Well, I guess then on to final thoughts. It could use a round of editing, obviously, but it's not like it's nowhere near as bad as some other ones that we've done in terms of the way it's written and such. It does use a common trope with this sort of situation. However, because it elaborates on that and adds the dread and horror, that's what it does. It through the horror of truth, we get a dread at the end as to like the implications of what's going to happen next. Like, does the mother kill her kid? Like, that's the other thing about this.
I don't think it was ever going to go there.
I kind of like was worried. I was kind of like I thought that's how I kind of perceived the ending. Like that a choice is about to be made, but we're gonna fade to black right there. So yeah, like it may not go that way, but like because like of how horrifying that is. But like she might have done that. Like we don't know, and that's also part of the horror of it is that like we are now left in the dark. Like, what did she do? Oh God! It's like part of the dread of it. But also the dread comes from the actual explanation, and so it has the body horror as well as a little bit of cosmic horror of just like knowledge is doom, or knowledge is the horror. So yeah, despite that, all that kind of stuff, for me, this was actually a pretty strong, short body horror story. So yeah, I recommend. This was a good one, if a little short, but a good one. Mikey, D stands for evil.
Well, it was entertaining, to say the least. At least I enjoyed it, and I like the fact that it solidified the theory of reincarnation with the doctor explaining it, even though the
We all
doctor
kind of,
wouldn't necessarily say such things because you assume they're a medical doctor.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
that's
like
you assuming.
doctors also have beliefs of their own, and so they
Yeah.
might, depending, and like not every doctor is like hard science or like hard like religion bad, science good, medical bad, like stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
some people like have like some people have very strong opinions that override their professions.
Or the doctor looked at all of the medical notes and be like, okay, there's nothing wrong with this child. However, I do believe in reincarnation. That's the only thing that makes sense. I'm going to tell her.
Yeah, exactly. Occam's razor. The sometimes the most logical explanation is when you've removed everything else and you cut straight to the point, like cut a straight line through it. The most, even if it's uncanny or impossible, it must be the correct answer.
Mm-hmm.
Or the simplest answer is often the most accurate. I'm
Yeah.
sure I butchered Occam's razor right there, but fuck it.
We had an interview. It's fine.
Yeah. And then I really liked the idea of the animal spirit doing the reincarnation with
Yeah,
the ram. So,
I just like the possibilities of where that weird story could go.
well, I feel that it really explains the head bashing that Andy does.
It does it in a less like depressive way.
Hmm.
Like it's not just a man who's rolled sand, so he's trying to kill himself because he's trapped in a child's body. It's a goat's instincts or like a ram's instincts to bash its head
Hmm.
or to butt heads. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that a lot more in my own headcanon.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that would be like a really interesting story to try and write based like kind of drawing inspiration from this to that. And yeah, like in headcanon, that would be like that is a much more interesting it's a much more out there and interesting narrative than a simple reincarnation thing, although the reincarnation thing ain't bad. Like it's just
Mhm.
this is much more intriguing because of how weird it is.
Yeah. So overall, I'm going to give it a recommendation.
All right. And gamer.
Yeah, about the same for me. I might be parroting you guys a little bit, but I enjoyed the read. I don't know if I prefer Mikey's animalistic reincarnation to the one we got. I don't know if I'd say that, but because like the way it is with him being reincarnated as a baby, but he gets to the point where he can actually speak. Like, is he going to be able to speak as it? Like, if he died when he was like 60, would he have
Yeah.
the mental capacity of a 60-year-old? Or like I don't know what would happen at that point.
Yeah, I think that's where it's trying to get at because of like the other behaviors that that Andy seems to possess. Like that, like once he starts talking, we're gonna be hearing like an adult male talking or like an adult person's talking. Like
Just through a baby's voice.
yeah, through a baby's voice. Like he's going to have the possibly unhinged and insane from this experience, but he's going to have the mental capacity of an adult.
Even if the experience wasn't enough to mess him up, like it could have been a situation where he was like some whacked out cultist that got sacrificed, and this is what happened to him. But he was already nuts at that point,
Yeah,
like a serial killer or something, you know?
yeah, that could go a darker route for a horror
A
story.
little bit of a tricky situation.
Yeah, it actually kind of reminds me again. There's a game scenario, like a horror scenario called The Wives of March, where this couple from like the dawn of time keep getting reincarnated over and over again,
Yes.
like through their children, basically. Like they keep cloning themselves essentially every generation. And the babies are all adult. Like they basically the horror of it is when you go into like the nursery room of the house as an investigator in this Cthulhu game or in this horror game, and you see the babies. There's like several babies in different cribs, and they're all like doing the same thing in unison. Like they're basically like trying to improve
hive
their
mind?
what?
They're like a hive mind?
Well, not even like so much of a hive mind, it's just that they're all working on the same thought processes because they're all the same person, but they're all basically like working their fingers and like toes and stuff like that in unison to build up their muscle mass faster. Like they're basically like trying, like they've been through this before over and over again through the centuries. So as soon as they're born and they're put in their crib, they start working on their muscle on their articulation and such. And the creepiest part is when all of them, like when the investigator inevitably fails their stealth roll as they're looking in, all the babies in unison look toward them
Yeah.
with like dead eyes, like eyes that have seen way too much.
Yeah.
And that's when the sanity rolls start going. So yeah, I was again. It's because it's just because it's kind of a common trope with babies in horror, but it's well done.
It is, yeah. And even though it is tropey, as you say, it is well done.
Yeah.
And it's not like you. I'm assuming because you're saying it's tropey, you've read a number of stories that are an older person's body stuck in a baby.
Stories, movies, again, game scenarios. Yeah, like, and I don't want to say, okay, when I say that it's a common trope, I don't want to detract from the fact that this story does that trope well.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm saying you've seen all these, but this story's done so well that you're not being like, oh, this shit again, because it has an interesting twist on it, and the way that the horror builds is really interesting.
Yeah, like at the very beginning when I called it, I was like, okay, let's see how this goes, and then by the end, I was like, damn. Like it was like an artist's applause when seeing a fine piece of work. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's very. I think that's also why why I'm saying like I'd like to see the weirder one that Mikey brought up, is just because it breaks up the trope even more. But this one does well by that trope.
For sure. That's about all I needed to say.
That I helped say too.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a way to bring the Supernatural Task Force into this, but I don't know.
It's really kind of hard. Yeah, like not every story needs to be the Supernatural Task Force.
Maybe they were battling a demon, and the only way that they could have like contained it was to contain it inside a body.
See, I was surprised that none of us have brought that up yet. Like I had it in my head. It's like, I wonder if the other guys are going to come up with an idea that the baby actually isn't a human, like an adult, but actually some kind of demonic creature inside the baby.
That's why the demon's like, make it stop, because he's like, make this prison stop.
Yeah,
like let me out.
Release me.
Oh, they said let me out.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of creepy.
Yeah, if it had been like let me out, like that, yeah, that would have been so much creepier. Like make it stop, like let me out, kind of thing. Like if it had nodded and then said that, like that would have been even. That would have like changed the whole premise of like reincarnation to just like a demon possession.
Although let me out could just mean let me out of like these chains or these bindings, because I'm strapped to the table right now.
Yeah, fair.
But if he said that when he's just like sitting in a crib eating baby food, he's like, let me out.
Yeah. A head rolls back around.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's like yeah, it's you could go with that angle as well, but I think the way it is, it's pretty decent. It's pretty good.
For sure. That's why I got 3 recommendations.
Yep. Roundhouse kick to the face. Recommendations.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I didn't really find the grammar that much of a problem either.
No, yeah, it's just like very common, like small stuff, like again, tense issues. That's about it.
Yeah. Some stories we read, if the story is like well enough, like the story itself might be put well enough together, but if the grammar is absolutely abysmal, then it's hard to read. But this wasn't. Yeah.
So again, good job. Well, I don't think there's anything else to say for this story. So that has been this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. You can also get a hold of us on Twitter. Mikey is at the E stands for evil, and the Gamer in Yellow is at that Gamer in Yellow, at the Gamer in Yellow, but without the W because his name is too long.
It really is.
And I'm at Review Cultist. So you can send us messages there, send us recommendations there. Let us know how we're doing. If you'd like to go to iTunes or any other podcast streaming service that you watch us on, or on YouTube, you can leave us and they have some kind of like rating and review system. By all means, please rate and review the show. Critique us how we critique creepypastas. Every little bit helps. And if you'd like to email us, you can go to aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com, where you can also leave us other creepypastas, SCPs, cryptids, things of spooky nature on the internet to discuss and review. We will touch on them by throwing them into our roster. And if you'd like to help support the show financially, you can go to Patreon, look up Al Dente Rigamortis, and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with early access, special content, extra content for our patrons that are already helping support the show. Thank you guys immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the writers of these stories, thank you guys immensely. Seriously, without your listenership, we wouldn't have much of a show, and without your stories that you throw out there in internet land, we really wouldn't have much of a show. So again, thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.